Welcome to the Wellness Lab Digest, where we help you to absorb powerful, life-changing insights from top wellness experts with our daily, bite-sized wellness podcast summaries. Each episode is packed with distilled, powerful takeaways to boost your health and well-being. To support this podcast, please scroll down on whatever app you're listening on. Ratings and reviews are helpful. Even better, just send the show to a friend. Or check out our sponsors at the bottom of the page, or simply click the Support the Show link.
Ready to tap into some serious brain power? Because today we are diving deep into something that's all about unlocking your potential. Manifestation. But not the mystical make-a-wish kind of way. We're going to look at it through the lens of science and the brain with this wild interview you sent over with Dr. Jim Doty, a Stanford neurosurgeon.
Okay.
And he's having a conversation with Mel Robbins on her YouTube channel.
It's really interesting, how Dr. Doty kind of connects those two worlds, the woo-woo and the concrete neuroscience.
Totally. And he's really open about his own journey, too. He talks about all that classic success stuff, becoming a millionaire, having a huge house,
right,
but still feeling really unhappy.
And that personal story, I think, really gets at the heart of what he's talking about.
Right.
This difference between what he calls fear mode and heart mode.
Yeah.
And basically, these modes are kind of reflecting the activity of our nervous system.
Oh.
So fear mode is driven by the sympathetic nervous system. It's that primal fight, flight, or freeze response.
Like when you're stressed out.
Exactly. But heart mode, which is linked to the parasympathetic nervous system, that's where the magic happens.
Okay.
That's where we're talking connection, creativity, and as Dr. Doty says, a heightened ability to manifest.
So, it sounds like we're literally wired for this heart mode.
Right.
But a lot of us have just lost touch with it.
Yeah, for sure.
So what makes heart mode so important when we're talking about manifestation?
Well, Dr. Doty thinks that when we're in heart mode, we're more open to possibilities. We're more connected to our intuition and less held back by those limiting beliefs. It's a way of being that lets us tap into, this deeper well of creativity and inspiration, which he believes is essential for bringing our desires into reality.
So he's basically saying that by achieving all that external success while still being stuck in fear mode, he was kind of accidentally manifesting more of what he didn't want. Like that feeling of emptiness, that lack of fulfillment.
Exactly. He had to change his whole perspective to actually find real happiness.
Right.
And, it's interesting. It challenges this idea that manifestation is just about getting rich.
Yeah.
Or getting external validation.
Yeah.
Dr. Doty's experience seems to suggest it's more about aligning our desires with our authentic selves and finding a deeper sense of purpose.
Yeah. And this is where it gets really interesting because Dr. Doty doesn't just tell us to think positive thoughts.
Yeah.
He breaks down the neuroscience of manifestation.
Yeah.
He talks about these 4 key brain networks: the default mode network, the salience network, the attention network, and the executive control network.
Right.
For those of us who aren't neuroscientists, how do those networks actually help us with manifestation?
Well, let's focus on the salience network and the attention network. They play a super interesting role. So imagine the salience network kind of like a filter.
Okay.
It's constantly scanning your environment and internal world, looking for anything important. And once it finds something related to your goals or intentions, it flags it as salient. Then your attention network, like a bloodhound, picks up the scent and starts looking for anything connected to that salient information.
So if I'm constantly focused on my goal, let's say writing a book, my salience network is going to flag any information or opportunities related to writing as important. And my attention network is going to help me see those opportunities that I might have missed otherwise.
It's like your brain is working behind the scenes to align your reality with your intentions.
That's wild.
It's pretty cool.
But how do we actually communicate those intentions to our brains in the first place? Dr. Doty talks about a technique that involves writing down your goals.
Yeah, he calls it the write it down technique.
Yeah.
And it's all about encoding those intentions deeply into your subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more than just, writing stuff down.
Right.
It's about using multiple senses. So you write it down, read it silently, read out loud, and then you vividly picture it happening. That multisensory approach really helps solidify that intention within your neural networks.
So it's not just thinking positive thoughts. It's about actively engaging with our goals on different levels.
Absolutely.
I'm starting to see how this connects the abstract idea of manifestation
Right.
with the tangible world of brain activity.
It definitely adds like a scientific layer
Yeah.
to a concept that's often shrouded in mystery.
And it seems like a lot of this boils down to being aware of the stories we're telling ourselves.
Yes.
You know, those internal narratives that can either help or hurt us when we're trying to manifest.
That's right.
Dr. Doty even says that we often practice negative manifestation without even realizing it.
Oh, totally. He's talking about the power of negative self-talk, like that inner critic.
Yeah.
That voice that's always telling us we're not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy, can be a huge roadblock to achieving our goals.
Right.
If you keep telling yourself,
Yeah.
I'm not good enough for years,
Yep.
you're basically training your brain to manifest those negative outcomes.
It's like planting seeds of self-doubt
Exactly.
that grow into weeds and choke out our potential.
Yeah. It's a great analogy.
And Dr. Doty shared that he had really deep negative self-talk
Yeah.
that came from a rough childhood. And this was someone who had all this external success.
Exactly.
So it's a good reminder that we all deal with this. What are some things we can do to start tackling those negative thought patterns?
Well, Dr. Doty suggests journaling. It's about becoming more aware of your thoughts and feelings.
Okay.
When you write those negative stories down,
Yeah.
you can start to separate yourself from them and see them for what they are.
Uh-huh.
Just thoughts, not the truth.
So the first step is awareness.
Right.
But how do we actually move from just noticing those negative thoughts to actually changing them? Is it even possible to rewire our brains for a more positive and empowering internal narrative?
That's a great question, and that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll dig into Dr. Doty's insights on how to challenge those limiting beliefs and create a mindset that actually supports our goals and aspirations.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
So we were talking about how to shift from just noticing those negative thoughts to actually like changing them.
Yeah, that feels like a big deal because we keep saying that our brains are wired for heart mode.
Right.
But if we're always dealing with these negative thoughts, it's like we're stuck in this neurological tug of war.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And Dr. Doty says that, rewiring those deep-seated neural pathways, it's not a quick fix.
Right.
But he does offer some really helpful tools
Okay.
to like consciously cultivate a more supportive internal environment.
One that really stood out to me was his focus on gratitude. He even told this powerful story about losing millions of dollars.
During the dot-com crash.
Yeah, exactly.
And it actually ended up being this catalyst for positive change. It's really interesting how he reframed that experience. Instead of focusing on what he'd lost, he shifted his attention to what he was grateful for.
Like what?
Like his health, his relationships, his ability to give back.
It wasn't about ignoring how hard it was.
No, not at all.
It was about choosing where to put his energy.
Exactly. Like hitting a reset button on what really mattered.
Instead of chasing money or external validation, he found fulfillment in helping others.
Like setting up health clinics and working with groups like the Dalai Lama Foundation.
And that's where his personal story ties into the whole idea of manifestation.
Right.
Because he says the shift from a what I want mindset to a how can I be of service perspective actually made him better at manifesting.
It's not about denying our desires. We can still want nice things.
Yeah.
It's more about aligning those desires with a deeper sense of purpose.
It's like adding fuel to the fire.
Yes, exactly.
And he says gratitude is key to this process. When we focus on what we're thankful for, we shift out of that fear-based scarcity mode.
That's right.
Into a state of abundance.
And we already talked about how that's the sweet spot for manifesting.
Totally. He also shared some really specific ways to cultivate this heart mode.
Yeah.
I was really struck by how simple his morning routine is.
Like, tell me about it.
Breathing exercises, expressing gratitude, and taking a moment to appreciate just being alive.
It's powerful, right? Like, you don't need some big, complicated ritual.
No.
It's about intentionally creating space to connect with yourself.
Right.
And find that inner peace.
He even mentioned going through the alphabet as part of his morning routine.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Might sound a little weird.
Yeah.
But it's a grounding technique.
How so?
By going through each letter, he brings his attention to the present moment.
Okay.
shifting away from all that mental chatter
Yeah.
and into a state of calm focus.
I love that.
It's so simple.
Right, but effective.
Totally.
Yeah.
And this gets at a bigger point he makes about not overcomplicating things.
Okay.
He's seen so many people get caught up in the shoulds of personal growth.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like thinking you have to meditate for hours.
Yeah, or master some complicated technique.
Exactly. He says the most important thing
Yeah.
is finding what resonates with you
Oh.
and making it a part of your life.
It's about those small, consistent changes that add up.
Exactly.
Speaking of consistency,
Yeah.
what about his evening routine? How does he use manifestation to achieve his goals every day?
Okay, so he recommends this. Figure out your top 3 goals for the day.
Uh-huh.
Write them down.
Okay.
Say them to yourself. Say them out loud.
Out loud.
Yeah. And then vividly picture yourself achieving those goals.
It's like making a movie in your mind.
Totally. And the repetition is key.
Okay.
By engaging with those goals over and over,
Uh-huh.
you're strengthening those neural pathways,
Right?
sending a clear message to your subconscious.
So it's like a combo of conscious intention and using the power of the subconscious.
Exactly.
Does he explain how this visualization stuff works in the brain?
Yeah, he talks about how it activates the default mode network,
Okay.
which is all about self-reflection and creating our internal narrative.
Uh-huh.
By doing these positive visualizations,
Yeah.
we're basically rewriting that narrative, replacing those limiting beliefs with powerful visions of ourselves achieving our goals.
So we really do have more control over our reality than we think.
But Dr. Doty also says it's important not to get too attached to the outcome. Like, things don't always work out exactly how we planned.
Right. Or on our timeline.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not about being rigid.
Okay.
It's about being open to possibilities and trusting that things are working out
Yeah.
in a way that ultimately serves us.
Surrendering to the journey.
Yeah, and even if things don't go exactly as we imagined,
Mm.
the process of manifesting,
Right.
of intentionally creating the life we want,
Yeah.
can be super transformative in itself.
Absolutely. But what about those times when we're facing real challenges? When it feels like life is throwing everything at us and
Yeah.
we're barely keeping our heads above water?
Yeah,
Can we still tap into that heart mode then?
that's a great question.
Yeah.
And it can feel impossible to focus on gratitude
Huh.
or visualize good things when you're going through something really tough.
Does Dr. Doty talk about that?
He does. He acknowledges that life can be really hard
Yeah.
and that many people are dealing with a lot of pain.
Right.
But he also says that even in the darkest times,
Mm-hmm.
we have a choice in how we respond.
Okay.
He says that every single person,
Mm-hmm.
no matter their circumstances, has the capacity for love, compassion, and kindness.
So it's about finding those little sparks of light.
Yeah, those moments of grace.
Even in the darkness.
Exactly. He talks about how we can improve the life of at least one person every day,
Uh-huh.
whether it's a hug, a kind word,
Right.
or just a simple act of service.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that by focusing on helping others,
Yeah.
we not only make the world a better place,
Right.
but we also shift our own energy
Okay.
and open ourselves up to receiving more good.
It's like paying it forward, but
Yeah.
with this powerful neurological twist.
All right. By choosing kindness,
Mhm.
we're not just being nice.
Yeah.
We're actually rewiring our brains for positivity and abundance.
Yeah.
It's realizing that even when things are difficult,
Right.
we can still choose love, choose kindness,
Yeah.
and choose to focus on what's good.
And by doing that,
Ah.
we create this ripple effect
Exactly.
that can transform not just our lives,
Right.
but the lives of those around us.
This actually leads to something else that Dr. Doty talked about,
Okay.
the importance of our shadow self.
That part of us we try to hide.
This stuff we're ashamed of or embarrassed by.
Yeah.
He says we can't fully manifest our potential
Okay.
until we learn to integrate those shadow parts
Mm.
and embrace our wholeness.
So it's not about pretending to be perfect
Right.
or pushing down those parts of ourselves that we think are bad.
It's about acknowledging them
Uh-huh.
and accepting them as part of who we are.
Embracing both the light and the shadow.
Exactly. True authenticity comes from embracing all of it.
It's such a powerful message.
Yeah.
Especially in a world that tells us to present this perfect version of ourselves.
It's a call to be real, to be vulnerable,
Uh-huh.
to embrace all of who we are, the good, the bad, and the messy.
And maybe that's when real transformation can happen.
I think so. And Dr. Doty embodies this.
How so?
He's incredibly successful,
Mm-hmm.
but he's also so humble and down to earth.
He doesn't shy away from talking about his struggles or his own shadow parts. And that's what makes him so relatable and inspiring.
He shows us that we can achieve great things without losing our humanity.
Exactly. And he really stresses that this power to manifest is available to everyone.
It's not about having some special gift.
No.
It's about understanding how our brains work.
Right.
And using that knowledge to create the life we want.
It starts with that shift from fear mode to heart mode.
Right.
From scarcity to abundance, from lack to love.
And from there, like he says, anything is possible. His insights are really inspiring. It's a good reminder that we have so much power to create the life we want for ourselves and the world.
So the question is, what will you choose to manifest?
That's a powerful question. What do we really want?
Yeah.
What kind of impact do we want to make? And how can we use these tools to reach our full potential? This is a good place to pause and reflect on those questions.
Oh, okay.
We'll be back in a bit to finish up our deep dive.
Yeah.
And leave you with one final thought-provoking idea.
Welcome back. We were just talking about that power we all have to create our own reality.
And even when things are tough, we can choose to shift our mindset.
Right. From fear to love.
From scarcity to abundance.
Dr. Doty really gave us a lot to think about.
He did.
His story is such a powerful example that real wealth isn't about stuff, it's about purpose and meaning.
And he gave us some really practical ways to find that purpose.
Right, and to manifest our goals authentically.
One thing that really stuck with me was his point about not denying our desires.
I know, right?
It's not like we can't want nice things or financial security.
Totally.
It's more about seeing those desires in a new light and realizing that real fulfillment comes from something bigger than ourselves.
That idea of service really resonated with me. Like, we each have something to offer. And by focusing on helping others, we tap into this incredible energy.
And he reminded us that everyone has something valuable to contribute.
Right, that belief in our own worthiness.
It's so important.
Which brings us to one of the most mind-blowing ideas from the interview. Dr. Doty said, "You are the universe."
Whoa.
What does that even mean?
I know, right? It's a powerful statement.
It's like saying we're not separate from the world around us.
We're part of it.
Woven into the fabric of existence.
And we can create our reality through our thoughts and actions.
We're not just along for the ride.
We're active participants.
So if we are the universe, what does that mean for our ability to manifest?
It means we're not stuck.
Okay.
We have the power to change things.
To heal old wounds.
To build a life that reflects our values.
Our thoughts aren't just fleeting things.
They shape our world.
So by choosing to focus on love, gratitude, possibility, we change the energy we bring to each moment.
And that changes the reality we experience. It's like realizing we're not bound by the past.
We can write a new story.
Create a new future.
Dr. Doty really challenged us to step into our power, to embrace our wholeness.
The light and the shadow.
Recognizing that true manifestation comes from authenticity.
It's not about what other people think or how many things we have.
It's about connecting with our true selves.
Living in harmony with what matters most.
I love that he reminded us that the journey matters just as much as the destination.
Yeah.
Even if things don't go exactly as planned.
The process of consciously creating the life we want.
Right.
It can change us in profound ways.
As we wrap up this deep dive, what really resonated with you?
What are you taking away from this conversation?
Maybe it sparked a desire to practice more gratitude or to spend more time being mindful.
Maybe it made you realize that you have more power than you thought.
To shape your reality.
Whatever it is.
We encourage you to take these insights and experiment.
See what happens when you shift your mindset.
Embrace the good.
And step into that power to manifest.
Remember, you are the universe.
And the universe is within you.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Thank you for listening to the Wellness Lab Digest. If you receive value from the podcast, I have 3 asks of you. 1, share the show on social media with your friends and tag the show at the Wellness Lab Digest on Instagram. Number 2, please leave a rating and review in whatever app you're listening on. And last but not least, please let me know what topics you would like us to cover in the future. You can contact me at empoweringmen.org/contact. And right now we have a free ebook to get you started on your wellness journey as well. That's empoweringmen.org/contact. To support this podcast, Check out our sponsors at the bottom of the page or simply click the Support the Show link